that's a real problem. I mean, you are exactly right, because I mean, and look, the companies say, how are we going to attract the really best people if we're not paying them?
Right.
They've earned this. The derivative, the problems with the derivatives were all, none of the companies that were getting the bonuses, they weren't a part of it. So, it's really difficult to sort of, but those are the things that happen, that's another example of why I want to make sure I have enough time to read through this bill and go through it, so that you don't see those things after the fact, that you recognize as many of those things before they happen. Just to bring it back to Medicare again, I want to make sure that we're doing all the things that we need to do beforehand to make sure we get the very best bill that we can. And
we might have come full circle here, because you're talking about the private economy and I'm talking about healthcare, right? And the argument is that it's socialized medicine. The government is paying, and it's going to come between decisions you're making with your doctors and things like that. Now, if society was all capitalistic, right, we would all bid on our individual security and we wouldn't have a police force, right? But the government says the police force is for the greater good. In your mind, in your political philosophy, is healthcare for the greater good? Is it something the government should be paying for people?
I think that, and that's part of the debate, is it a right or is healthcare a privilege? And I think that's the debate. I mean, I think that, we should have universal healthcare, that I think that every American, and including the 47 million that don't have healthcare right now, should all have healthcare. Can we do it in a way that's fair and equitable? Yeah, I think we can. I think we're one of only 2 industrialized countries in the entire world that doesn't have a universal system of healthcare. Now, that just because we have universal healthcare doesn't mean it's going to be a Canadian form or it's going to be a British form. I think this idea that the president has of this public option is a good American sort of plan. It's a way of creating competition at the cheapest way.
And you spoke about that before. The problem, what people are saying, the problem with the public option is the private industry can't compete with the government, because the government can keep putting money into its option. And private industry can't. And the administrative costs, that's the big thing. The government has administrative workers on its payroll that private insurers can't pay, and they'll pay a lot more out of.
Here's what I say to that, and I hear this, and believe me, I talk quite a bit about this. In fact, I have a meeting right after this on healthcare, a big meeting. But I say this all the time. I always hear from people in the private sector. The private sector can do anything better than government can, and I say, okay, you can do anything better, then compete with government. We're going to say, here is the criteria. All right, that's all we're doing. Here is the criteria. Here is the exchange. In order for you to compete, you have to meet the following criteria, and you compete. That should bring the cost down.
I think you need some water. We're almost done anyway, but I appreciate this. Is you've really been. I mean, we had war when you went into office, and there's been a lot that's been going on. But man, hasn't it all just been thrown at you? I mean, this is a very, very difficult time in our history.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. This whole healthcare. I mean, all of these things that I've been talking about, I've learned about in the past 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
I mean, on 1 minute I'm talking about the profit margin for New York hospitals. I'm talking about the disadvantage of different areas of the country and what they are. I mean, so there's so much, and that goes to my point. There's so much in this bill that and every day I learn something, and I realize how much less I really know. Every one thing you learn, you realize there's 5 more things that I don't understand about this bill, and that goes to my point. Let's just take our time. The margin for error is not large here. Let's take, I'm committed to do this thing before the holidays, but I'm just not ready to do it right now. And I'm not alone. And I have to tell you, I was in a bookstore. I was in a bookstore last night. I had a person come up to me who was a nurse and said, "Mr. Arcuri, can I talk to you for 1 minute? Please, just slow this process down a little bit. Just, I want you to come and meet my husband." They yanked me over. My wife is like, "Where are you going?" I went over and they said, "Just slow it down." And that's everywhere I go. This weekend, in 2 days, I can't tell you how many people have said the same thing to me. They want health care, but let's just do it the right way.
Do you think you might have to stay through your recess?
I'm prepared to do that if that's what. I don't think that'll do it, because I think that what we should do is get the bill done this week and then give us time to come home and talk to our constituents. But if that's the choice, I'm prepared to do that.
Final question in there. I'm assuming next presidential election, Obama will be running. After that, Hillary Clinton's playing a pretty big role right now, and she's making some noise. You see her as potentially.
I think.
And how do you think she's doing right now?
I think she's doing well. I talked to her a couple of weeks ago. She really is enjoying it. She was still a little sore because that was right after she fell and broke her arm. So, but I think she's really enjoying what she's doing and the way she's doing it. I think she's very good in that role. I think she'll be in the picture for quite a while, and I don't know. I don't want to speculate on what she's going to do in the future, but I think she's doing a good job right now, and I think she has a good relationship with the president that'll continue.
Interestingly, she traveled out of the country. That's the one big question apparently that's asked of her. When are we going to see you running for president again? Probably a little early to ask that question.
I think it's early, and I don't think it's a good thing for us to be talking about right now. We're still in this president's first term. He's doing a very good job, and he has some really tough questions that we've only scratched the surface on. So we need to get through these before we start talking about the elections 8 years down the road.
And in your eyes, health care before the holidays.
Yes, I think that's doable. I think it's reasonable. But healthcare before this week, it's not going to happen. I'm going to vote no if it comes up this week because I just strictly on procedure because I think it's moving too fast.
All right, Congressman Arcuri, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Marcus, Utica Daily News, thank you. Take a break. Come right back here. It's Keeler in the Morning, 92.7 The Drive.
Wow.
Hey, this is Rich Artigiani, General Sales Manager at the Nye Automotive Group here in Oneida.